Good afternoon. I am Lesroy Williams. I'm here to interview the Honorable Michael Perkins, Speaker of the National Assembly, on an incident that took place today during the National Assembly, the first sitting of the National Assembly for the new year. Speaker Perkins, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for having me.
You're most welcome, sir. Could you tell us in a nutshell what happened today in the National Assembly?
Well, before I indicate my thoughts on what transpired today in the National Assembly, maybe I should preface what I'm going to say in this way. I see Parliament and the proceedings of Parliament as being part of representing people. We, the members of Parliament, we're here to represent people, to have discussions and debates and set laws which are in the interest of people. And so I'm happy that you've come to have this sort of interview with me, because I do feel it's appropriate. I feel that in the past there's been mysterious things, a sort of mystery about the workings of Parliament. And I've said from day one, since my elevation to this role back in June last year, that one of my aims is to demystify the proceedings of Parliament. Yes. And so I'm happy that we're doing this today, and on the heels of what transpired today.
Sure.
And so now to your question as to what transpired today. The opposition moved what is called a motion of no confidence in the Speaker of the National Assembly. And that is a mechanism used basically to have Parliament discuss, debate, and approve, or it seeks to approve, a particular resolution, which is a proposal. In this case, it was to say that they have lost confidence in the Speaker because of what they perceive as things that are not in their favor. And so they sought to do that through the tabling, or not the tabling, the submission of what they call a motion of no confidence.
When was it submitted?
December 13th last year, at the very last sitting of last year. It was hand-delivered to me here in Parliament. It was followed, though, on the last day of the year by what was purported to be an amendment to it. That amendment, maybe I can say it now, was rejected because it was not properly submitted, and it sought to negate a particular issue in the original motion, which is not allowed. You cannot negate something that was proposed in an original motion by that means.
Sure.
So I rejected the amendment on that grounds. In terms of the original motion that was submitted, and the Parliament has some very specific rules which we follow, called the standing orders. They are the guide to what happens in Parliament. Sure. Everything that takes place in Parliament are governed under these rules,
sure,
called the standing orders. And I will make particular reference to the rule which speaks to this motion, or the way motions are handled. And it is very straightforward, and it says, and it's found section 27.3 of the order. It says, if the Speaker is of opinion that any notice of motion which has been received by the clerk infringes the provisions of any standing order or is in any other way out of order, the Speaker may direct the member concerned that the notice is out of order. Or the Speaker may amend the motion as he sees fit and have it placed on the order paper.
And this is section 27.3 of the standing order.
orders of this parliament.
Sure.
So it's very specific, it's very clear. And so I had basically two options having received the motion. Did it infringe any of the provisions of the standing order? Did it any? Or was it in a form that I could simply make some simple amendments and put it on the other paper? So I set about studying the motion, and I found there was so much serious infringements on the rules that I had no choice but to declare it at the end of the day out of order.
Yes.
So that, in a sense, that is what happened. But interestingly, I thought I was being magnanimous by providing reasons as to why I found it to be out of order.
But it infuriated the opposition.
Yes, and that too I found to be surprising because I was simply following the rule. In other words, and this is interesting from my standpoint, if I had allowed the motion to be debated, I too would have been in violation of the rules. So I could not allow that. And I would say one other thing. The motion was deemed out of order. But if one followed what I said in my ruling, I ended by saying any motion that is submitted to me and is found in good order, we will debate it. And we will debate it in quick time. So that was my position, my overall position with respect to the motion.
They were alleging or accusing you of debating it.
They were out of order, even with that suggestion. As a matter of fact, all the interjections we had during my ruling were out of order. Because the ruling, when the speaker is given a ruling, it is equivalent to a high court judge giving a ruling.
Sure.
No lawyer, no one can interrupt. They'll be out of order. They could be held in contempt of court.
Sure.
And I will say this at this point, that's also an option that is available to the speaker, meaning if at any time the speaker finds that a member is out of, or is in contempt, or does something that he considers to be contemptuous, that member could be brought up on charges of contempt.
Sure.
There are ways and means of dealing with that. And I will go a step further, because once the members walked out of Parliament today, just before they left, the behavior in itself, which will be seen, I guess, and heard, always heard.
From outside.
Yes. It would be looked at. The records of the House would be studied. And if I'm of the view that the behavior was contemptuous, I would take the necessary steps to deal with that accordingly.
Sure. Now, the opposition has accused you of bias. I think that's one of that's the argument, basically, that things are not going in their favor. Do you think that this accusation, this allegation, has any basis or grounds?
Mr. Williams, the interesting thing about that is the questioning of the impartiality of the speaker is considered out of order. So to accuse the speaker of bias, it's out of order. What the opposition members should do is a very simple route they can take. In Parliament, there are rulings made as we go along. Rulings. Speaker makes rulings as we go along. If at any time any particular ruling does not find favor with any opposition member, that opposition member, all he or she has to do is to ask for a review of the ruling, but they must do it by what we call a substantive motion. Meaning, the Speaker makes a ruling, a member disagrees, he shouldn't even say that he disagrees with the Speaker. He shouldn't comment on the ruling there and then. Once the sitting is over, that particular sitting is over, he prepares a motion. He writes to the Speaker saying, Mr. Speaker, on this date, this was the issue, this was your ruling, we disagree because of XYZ, because you erred. When we look at standing order X, you erred in that ruling. And we debate that in here. And then the question would be put to the House, did the Speaker in fact err? If I erred, the House would indicate that. And that particular resolution would be passed that the Speaker erred. And I go a step further. If the opposition can build a case of a series of errors on the part of the Speaker through substantive motions, clearly the Speaker then finds himself with questions hanging over his head. And those questions can, in my opinion, amount to the opposition making a case, well, look, this Speaker is not doing a good job. We have shown that he is erred. We have shown that he is biased. Because some of the answers to those questions could, in fact, the conclusion could be, well, the Speaker is biased. Yes. But the opposition members, they have never once made a challenge to a ruling of the Speaker in the correct way. They've never done it. They've never sought to bring a substantive motion for this House to debate. The question is why? Why, if you have difficulty with the rulings of the Speaker, actions of the Speaker, you do not use the proper procedure? You do not go according to the standing order and challenge those rulings. That's the question. And I invite the public to ask themselves, why? Why have I not seen that challenge in that form, the proper form?
Now, you have been well, how should I put it? The target of, for example, those in the gallery would have witnessed that several words have been thrown at you by members of the opposition that can amount to perhaps attack on your character as the Speaker. How do you handle that?
Well, from a very simple, in a very simple way, I would say, once as the Speaker of this Parliament, I am satisfied in my heart that my decisions, my rulings are fair, are transparent, they are in accordance with the rules. Once I'm satisfied to myself that that's my position, I have no difficulty with anything that is being said.
Sure.
No difficulty at all.
Sure.
Except that when I think they have gone overboard, when I think anyone is violating the very same standing orders, then I am duty bound to act, to treat those utterances or whatever actions they're taking in a particular way, sure, in accordance with the same standing orders.
Sure.
So we always go back to these standing orders. These are the standing orders we have had since our independence. There have been very minor changes, you know. So, and having said that, I'll make the point. Anyone can come to Parliament and propose amendment to these standing orders. We debate it. If we agree, standing orders could be changed. The opposition has that right. So if they're not in agreement with the rules, they can propose a motion to have this particular rule changed or that. The question is why are they not doing that? Why are they not doing that? Mr. Williams, some of the things we have seen in this Parliament since my taking up this position are unheard of. They are totally and utterly unparliamentary. Like I said in my ruling this morning.
I know that you have asked the Honourable Nigel Party to leave Parliament on 2 occasions, that I recall.
Yes, yes. it's interesting you bring up that, because I could go a step further and say, in the incident to do with Nigel Carty and he being asked to withdraw from Parliament, I have heard reports in the media, actually heard him make comments to that, which misrepresent what happened in Parliament.
Yes.
Specifically, in that particular incident, he has said in the media that he withdrew the statement, but he was still put out of Parliament, or at least he gives that impression. That is the furthest from the truth, because he was asked to withdraw from Parliament because I was given a ruling and he laughed at me during the ruling, which I found totally disrespectful. So that there was no chance. I did not even ask him to withdraw anything.
But the leader of the opposition said that it was not you that he laughed at, but he laughed at the Honorable Prime Minister.
That is a total misrepresentation of what happened. I was the only person speaking in this Parliament.
And he did look at you.
He was looking at me, and as I gave my ruling,
He laughed.
he laughed. He began to look away and he laughed. It is as clear as daylight. So I have no difficulty with that decision I made at that time. I stand by it 100%. And,
Do you think that this is a concerted and calculated effort to bring chaos to the Parliament?
Well, based on what transpired this morning, I am now wondering as to the motives behind how things turned out. Because clearly, if the Speaker is given a ruling, the House should be silent. All members should simply sit and listen to the ruling. And at the end of the ruling, if the Speaker is so minded, he can allow maybe a question, a clarification, but no one should be speaking during a ruling. So the fact that there was this continuous interjection and interruption, which was completely out of order,
Yes.
to me now makes me think that it was an orchestrated attempt to bring disruption to the business of the House on this particular day.
Okay. Now, Speaker, I want to ask you one last thing. I know that you have to go. Did you ever imagine that your role, your position as Speaker of the National Assembly, quite an elevated role in our parliamentary democracy, would have been this challenging?
I'm not sure if I can say I did not expect the challenge or for it to be challenging, but I must be completely honest and say what has taken me by surprise, and I'm being frank and honest here, is the let me put it as blunt as I can, the unparliamentary type behavior and disrespect that has been shown to the Speaker by some members of this House. I expect the robust debates, the back and forth between members, even the cross talk, which I tolerate.
Yes.
I must know when I've had enough.
Normal
But
banter.
never before, in my wildest dreams, would I have expected members to openly challenge the Speaker in this manner. Rude, disrespectful, loud. I can't categorize it any other way but in using such terms. I did not expect that. But I have not lost hope or faith, because at the end of the day, there are rules, there are standing orders that I can simply resort to bring this House
Sure.
to the level that I would want it to be. in terms of its decorum and even its camaraderie. We need that, and we do have that at times. So I have not lost hope, I've not lost faith. I'm just very disappointed in the behavior of some members on the opposition benches.
Well, I think that the people who put the representatives here, a large number of them are also disappointed. And I want to thank you very much, Speaker Perkins, for talking to us today, giving us some insight into what took place today in the Parliament, the first sitting for the new year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. It's been a pleasure being here, and I do make this commitment here and now that, because I am of the view that the proceedings of Parliament is the people's business, doing the people's business, because I want to simplify what happens in Parliament so that the people can understand it more. I am prepared to come ever so often to speak to the people and to explain things and to give my side of the story, which is important at times. So I thank you for having me, and I look forward to doing it again.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.